Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. And it is my pleasure to welcome everyone, wherever you are calling from the rest of the world. I know we're broadcasting live right now to various channels. And I'd just like to greet everyone a great day and welcome to the road to the inaugural Philippine FinTech Festival. And for this afternoon, we're going to do a deep dive into one of our most important summits, which would be the Blockchain, NFT, and the Metaverse Summit. Before I start, I would like to take this opportunity to run a very short video and allow me thereafter to walk you through the agenda of the summit, and we'll then go to the meat and potatoes of this afternoon's discussion. Kurt?
The ASEAN economy is currently valued at over $3 trillion. With a population of over 600 million people, ASEAN is becoming the fourth largest economy in the world due to the impact technology has had in shaping cross-border collaboration and business in the region. The Philippines has become one of the fastest growing adopters of technology in the world. This has broadened the scope of local SMEs to engage in cross-border business. This is the first time that Philippine legacy brands are teching up, and we are bringing together industry leaders across various verticals to help solve the country's problems through tech. ASEAN is setting the pace as a global leader for technology and innovation, with a string of events in Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore that will dictate the future of our digital economy. This all begins in October at the Digital Pilipinas Festival. The Digital Pilipinas Festival is a week-long summit that will host the inaugural Philippine FinTech Festival and the World FinTech Festival Philippines, jointly with Elevandi, a non-profit by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, and the organizers of the Singapore FinTech Festival. We are going beyond FinTech by bringing together ASEAN traditions, legacies, government leaders, technologists, investors, and startups into an ecosystem that connects local and regional industries through tech. For technologists, it's the opportunity to share their breakthroughs with the leaders shaping local and regional industries. For investors, this is a chance to discover innovative solutions to the challenges millions across ASEAN face today. For the government, it's the platform to understand policies that will define digital economies in the future. And for public attendees, it's the venue where they can meet, learn from, and be inspired by a host of leaders and innovators in person. The Philippine FinTech Festival and the World FinTech Festival Philippines will lay the foundation for cross-border collaboration, business, and partnerships through scheduled meetups between regional neobanks and wallets, an event on AI and blockchain, a hackathon on Web 3.0 executions, and sustainable finance with the Monetary Authority of Singapore and Oliver Wyman. Additional hackathons on InsurTech, Enertech, and various industries. The Philippine pilot launch of the SME Digitalization Program through the SME Financial Empowerment Program with India, Ghana, and Singapore. The launch of trade associations for health tech, InsurTech, MarTech, RegTech, PropTech, and other relevant industry groups.
Together, let's build a digital Pilipinas through open finance.
Through e-commerce.
Through edutech.
Through fintech.
Mabuhay ang digital Pilipinas.
Let's build a digital Pilipinas together.
Shape the digital economy. Join us as we bring you the first leg in a tech-led journey across the ASEAN region. Join the Digital Pilipinas Festival as we bring you the World FinTech Festival Philippines and the Philippine FinTech Festival this October.
Thank you, everyone. And I cannot wait to welcome all of you to Manila as we open the One ASEAN FinTech Month. So it is no accident that for the first time since all of the FinTech festivals have started, some 6-7 years ago, that all of the ASEAN markets are lining up to welcome the rest of the world. And the Philippines is proudly kicking it off from October 17 to 21. We jumped to Cambodia from the 24th to the 26th, Thailand from the 27th to the 29th, Singapore from the 2nd to the 4th. And we close off the party in Indonesia from November 10 to 12, where we will be signing with our incoming chair, Indonesia, the One ASEAN FinTech Day. Yes, absolutely. My bottomless soda water, Erica. And allow me to just very, very quickly walk you through what's in store for the next 5 days. I want you to look at it in terms of 5 possible day parts. The first being the World FinTech Festival Philippines, where the best and the brightest from all over ASEAN and guests from across the region are coming down to actually share with all of you in person what are the most important issues for us in building a digital economy. So on day 1, we tackle tech for government and tech for good. Also at the same time, you'll get to hear about fintech from all over the world, from Japan to Africa to India, all in 60 minutes. Day 2 is where really we shine the light on blockchain, crypto and digital assets with our chair, coins.ph, running a summit on Web3. We also have on the 3rd day, the future of wallets, and also a discussion on AI and big data. Last but not the least, we celebrate Startup Day by also featuring the 6 digital banks who have been given licenses by the Banco Central, and of course, our eventual holy grail, which would be open finance. We have certain country contingents coming down to the Philippines, and this really excites us to no end. It's a deep dive on Singapore on October 18, on October 19. We have a contingent coming from Indonesia coming down. And on October 20, we have our friends from Central Europe and also Hungary. And then on the last day would be our friends from the Levant region and from Israel. Now, we are also launching, and please get to meet and work with the various industry associations that form the Digital Pilipinas ecosystem. So aside from leading the FinTech Philippines Association, I am very proud to be one of the co-founders of the PropTech Consortium of the Philippines. So they will all have their own panel and spotlight, so feel free to touch base with them. Also at the same time, we are launching on the first day our digital cooperatives project, which we started sometime in 2018. And you also get to meet the leaders, the incoming leaders of the Health Tech and InsurTech Association of the Philippines, super long overdue. The last big get together we had in the region prior to the pandemic was actually with them. How we define meetups in the industry is like 350 plus as a meetup for InsurTech. We are also welcoming the DL-TAP. I'm pleased to serve in the board of the Distributed Ledger Technologies Association of the Philippines, obviously organized by a technologist. And also we welcome the E-Money Association of the Philippines, together with the Digital Bankers Association. Lunchtime, because we're all on OMAD, we're not having lunch, we're doing hackathons. So we're running a hackathon on open finance, on Web3, sustainable finance, and energy. But really, the heart of Digital Pilipinas, aside from being in the summits, are actually in the afternoon. So our commitment to you 5 years ago when we started this advocacy, remember, Erica, which is we are going to tech up the country one vertical at a time. And so imagine advocacy as a service, not just software as a service, but each of the verticals will come together, bring about digital transformation via the coming together of the incumbents, the legislators, the fintechs, the technologists, and also the regulators. KPMG is going to oversee the output of the white paper for each of these industries throughout the year, not just through the festival, but throughout the year. and also the technologists and the startups from Startup Village will be coming in to pitch to the incumbents in the hope of creating lasting change for the industry. The evening is going to be so much fun because what is a digital Pilipinas without awesome food, right? So on October 18 is our special Singapore-oriented dinner with the embassy and of course with a Singaporean contingent. On the 19th, we are launching the Women Leaders in Finance and Technology, the keynote of which is going to be Indonesia. Third day, the government of Hungary is front-loading its national holiday to celebrate with all of us in a digital Pilipinas, right? Yep, I love Guyash, what can I say? And then last but not the least, on the final day will not only be an event hosted by the government of Israel, but it's going to be the coming out party of our chair, coins.ph. And on that note, I'd like to pause for now and turn it over to the panel. And on that, maraming salamat, and let's all build a digital Pilipinas together. Kurt, thank you.
Thank you very much more. Thank you. That was an inspiring message. But before we continue, can we start on with the festive move by having a photo op? Let's open our cameras for this souvenir photo. Like
maybe Wei will NFT it. Okay, maybe you guys can cue us. Thank you.
Let's say 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much more. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Well, coming from Amor's message, this affirms the urgent need for the Philippines to accelerate digitalization for economic growth and to narrow the gap in the digital divide amongst Filipinos. A truly digital Pilipinas, that's what we aim for. Now to know more about Web 3.0 and the metaverse, here's the CEO of Coins.ph. Well, to know more about him, he's a Harvard graduate, a bachelor's degree in economics and East Asian studies. He formerly served as a chief financial officer of Binance and other NASDAQ-listed tech companies. He also orchestrated this, I loved it, orchestration of the landmark acquisition of Grindr, where he served as a vice chairman. Wei started his career at Goldman Sachs in Hong Kong, and now the CEO and country's leading crypto and mobile wallet, Coins.ph. Welcome, Wei Zhu.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you, Amor, for sort of bringing all of us together on this. Yes, virtually, but in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna hang out. We're gonna meet in real person, and then sort of put on, I think, quite a show. I think in the Philippines, and I think not just for the country, but I think for the world to see and for the world to learn more about the Philippines as a great place to invest, to work, and to build. I think all of us here have basically lived in the digital realm, more or less, with nonstop online meetings for the last 2.5 years. And I think it's even more so, I think, true, I think, for the normal people. I think sort of with sort of our life being disrupted by COVID. But I think COVID, what has done is actually brought a lot of things forward. And one of those things is actually, the digital economy. I think, according to the Central Bank of the Philippines, the share of the digital payments in the retail space in the country, I think, jumped to 30% in 2021, and from 20% in 2020. And we've noticed even at Coins, we noticed a significant increase in transactions amongst the Filipinos. And I think the other sort of major areas that we've seen significant amount of growth is actually in the usage of digital assets. Mainly, I think initially, I think in the ownership of digital assets in the form of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other investable assets. But then secondly, over the last, I think 18 months in the usage of digital assets, I think in the in games or what I call metaverses. And these are the type of things that I think that's actually quite transformational. I think for coins, we currently, are seeing a little bit of a downtrend versus last year, where I think there's a significant amount of interest, from a user perspective. But I do think that the general interest is actually quite early, and I think most people are still learning about what is Web3, like what is it, and we hope at Coins, to be able to provide everyone pretty easy access into Web3 and also into the ownership of digital assets, I think through the products and services. I think, I'll jump in a little bit, sort of like, just to define what is Web 1, 2, and Web 3. I think Web 1 is sort of like the early days of the web where we can actually just, surf and read. And the Web 2 is basically now we can interact, right? We can actually chat with each other. We can actually, do live streaming as we were doing now. But what I think sort of the real difference in Web 3 is actually not only can we read it and interact with it, but we can actually own it. I think that's the technology that was actually enabled by blockchain and basically by NFTs. And I think it's still quite early. What I call it sort of like, the metaverse is just basically what websites were to the internet in the late 90s. Like website is basically how we interacted with the internet back then. But I think it's with Web3, with metaverse, it's going to become much more immersive, both from an interaction perspective, but also very different because now we can actually own it. Versus sort of like in the Web 2 days, all the content, all the social networks, whether the pictures or videos, they're all stored and owned essentially by currently some of the internet giants like Facebook and Google. So I think those are the sort of the two major transformation things that we've seen. And I think the other thing, one of the panelists that we're going to bring on, or a couple of panels we're talking about, are actually quite involved in all of that. With Chen, Guo Chen, who's the CEO of Steph AI. They're basically one of the leaders in terms of equipment manufacturing for metaverse experiences in China, and then also with my co-panelist from Katrina from YGG, who has actually been one of the leading companies coming out of the Philippines to propel sort of NFT gaming and NFT ownership. And I think but one of the really interesting thing that sort of like I think really puts Philippines on the map is actually more about NFT gaming. I think that's what really sort of when the world kind of saw that, hey, wait a minute, there's this new technology called using a digital asset that's an NFT in games where you can actually interact with other players around the world. You can actually potentially make some money from playing these games. And I think that's where sort of like people start learning that in the Philippines, we have people who are actually, from not high end, from the rural areas that are actually getting involved. And then that speaks to, I think, the combination of a couple of things. I think from a big picture trend perspective, I think one is that this technology is actually not that hard to use if you just spend the time to learn it. And you have groups like the YGG actually educating their users, educating the people in terms of how to use it. I think two, is the global connectivity at all. I think that's what sort of fintech has been driving at over that, like sort of with sort of the digital wallets, like coins, and like what Union Bank has been building. And I think that's actually really key, because one of the key things about like Web3 is that when you can own something and when you can get paid from it, like you actually need like a fundamental block, like sort of like a fintech layer to help you to power that. Right, to help basically to help someone who actually owns some digital assets. If you want to cash out of that economy, cash out of that world, we'll actually need some kind of like fintech layer to be able to not just to sort of to sell these assets that you own, but actually to spend those assets, to spend the money that you make in that world. And I think that's sort of the fintech layer that we're involved in. And then we're actually working very closely with Union Bank to try to enable that, in a more seamless way. And I think that's something that's really, really interesting as well. And I think what it has, and then I think the last thing is actually just sort of like I think it just sort of shows the third thing is actually, I think, with regards to the digital, is actually this virtual world that everyone kind of like can build together, and the sort of the speed with which it could happen. I think that's the big part. That's actually really interesting. So yeah, so I think that's sort of like some of the things that we're looking at, and then I hope to sort of discuss some of these things more actively with my co-panelists. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Wei. Thank you. Exciting times ahead.
Mhm.
We're also taking this opportunity to invite you all to join us this upcoming Philippine FinTech Festival happening on October 18th to 21. And in gratitude, because you are all here, we are giving a special access to the event, Sling, for a discount. Just use the promo code, we're flashing it now, points PHXPFF. All right, for your registration, they're just fine prints. Please read them. Very important. Thank you very much. And now, let's move on to our panel discussion. To introduce them, joining us also earlier, our first panelist is the country manager of Advanced AI in the Philippines. His mission is to foster warping speed of financial inclusion in the Philippines by helping sectors including banking, financial services, fintech, payment, retail, and e-commerce using big data and AI towards digital transformation, amongst others. Everyone, say hello to Michael Kalma.
Thanks, Diego. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you for that nice energy, Michael. Thank you. Our second panelist is the Senior Vice President of the first Philippine bank in the METAVERSE, as well as pioneering advocate of the fintech and open banking ecosystem. Please welcome a 2-week-old mother, Miss Erica Dizon Go of Union Bank.
Hi, Diego. Thanks for having me here again today. I think this is the second panel discussion. I hope you guys aren't sick and tired of Mike and myself. And we look forward to a fruitful discussion this time on DeFi, Web3 in the Metaverse.
That's true. I hope we're also not in the way of your breastfeeding as well. So are we good? Yeah.
No, we're already talking about drinks, having drinks here. So
All
definitely
right.
that's not going to be an issue. I'm actually back working already. I just wanted to lose the weight first.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Also part of this panel is the operations head of the Yield Games, Guild Games, or YGT Pilipinas, a play-to-earn gaming guild and decentralized autonomous organization that provides gamers all over the world for a chance to access the NFT game assets needed to start playing blockchain games and earn crypto-based rewards. The Chief Operating Officer of Severa Labs, an independent Web3 studio operating out of Manila, Philippines, and Singapore. Of course, Miss Katrina Gonzalez.
Hi, Diego. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the discussions.
Nice to see you again after a long time. And finally, of course, joining us from overseas is the founder and CEO of Step VR, an innovative company focusing on VR technology research and development. He specializes in the Internet of Things, or everything of things, sensors and data analysis, and has drafted key to IoT protocols and standards. One of his notable achievements in Step VR is winning the National Championship of Entrepreneur Contest in China. Must be tough, right? He was also named one of the 100 most innovative people in China by the Fast Company magazine, an American business magazine that focuses on technology, business, and design. Please welcome from overseas, Dr. Cheng Bo.
Hi, every guest, and pretty nice to meet you and audience. And well, Step VR is working on is building the portal to Metaverse for everyone in the commercial space, for the influencers, for the home as well. And I think we already have his avatar to the Metaverse. I hope next time when we have this kind of panel discussion, we can have that in the Metaverse. I gotta build everyone of these panelists, an avatar, so that next time we can show ourselves in the avatar way. Look forward.
Interesting, genius. Also, of course, joining us in the panel is the CEO of Coins.ph, Wei Zhu. Welcome back, Wei. Well, I'm gonna throw this first question to you to start the conversation. What do you think are the showstoppers or bottlenecks that hinders us from adopting? These are 2 points: Web3 and the metaverse in the Philippines.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think the one of the biggest barriers is content. I actually think there's not enough content for people to consume and use in Web3 right now. And the other one is I think it's just access point. I think people don't really know how to get in. I think it's actually quite complicated to use decentralized applications to access games. You need to basically use what they call decentralized wallet. You need to store your private keys on there. So I think like usability as well as I think content. I think those are probably the biggest things. The one's a push factor, which in terms of like, how easy for it to use. And the other one's more like a pull factor. Is like, because I think last year, a lot of people got in because of the pull factor. Like no matter, like though you have to basically go through about 10 steps to start playing a game. But then just because the pull factor is there, the content is interesting because you can make money, you can play games. Then I think people sort of overcame the barrier from the usability, from the ease of access perspective. So I think we have to sort of like build almost like both of those things. And I think that's happening in a much, much bigger way now.
Well, that's true. Is this something that Points is like getting ready to support for this like lack of, let's say, what we have now in the Philippines?
Yeah, I think we're building something that that can allow sort of for the Coins wallet right now. It's just it's more of a centralized wallet. We hope to sort of add decentralized functionalities for our users to be able to access Web3 directly from their Coins wallet.
Oh, that's true. Getting ready for. We're excited to know. Are you something that you want to announce at the PFF?
Hopefully we're
All
working with a couple of partners to be able to try things out. Yeah, we have a couple of big announcements saved for the PFF.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. So, Mike, Advance AI, you are one of the most crucial part of this like ecosystem. So, do you think how can you further to maximize cross-chain compatibility now that we have more and more consumers taking interest in crypto and wallet? You're just right there at the middle. I mean, how can you possibly like foster it in terms of like onboarding all of them?
Yeah, before I comment on cross-chain, I think I'll lift from what Ray mentioned on the showstoppers, right? I'd like to add on top of that, it's also the fear, right? That they will get hacked, their funds are not secure. So I think it's really important that we have regulated institutions like Coins.ph to be that gateway, right? And I think that adds trust to the consumers, right? If they know that the exchange that they're working with or the wallet that they're working with is regulated, and of course they have that safety net in terms of government regulation. Now to the cross-chain question, I think we should zoom in, right? Why do we need cross-chain after all? And the reason being is that there are no other options. The customer journey right now of a play-to-earn player, for example, is fragmented. He plays a game in the metaverse, has a native token, and has to go to another platform to convert that to fiat, for example. So that's why cross-chain has its use, right? But of course, there are vulnerabilities to that approach. And right now, I think it takes an industry, lots of players to be able to set some standards, right, on how to create that platform. You know, it's analogous to the problem we had before when we had closed banking. It's all fragmented. Now it's repeating itself in the metaverse, whereby, okay, why don't we create some standards here in order to be able to create that unified customer journey? And where we come in is from the lens of someone who has been operating for several years in the fintech space. Right, we use our AI for facial recognition to determine if the IDs are valid and if it matches the person applying for said account, and anomaly detection for fraud detection. And I think we could apply those in the metaverse to ensure mass adoption, because at the end of the day, people won't adopt technologies that are not secure, number one, and they won't adopt technologies that are not convenient. Take the example of my parents who still go to the physical bank branches. What more if they go to the metaverse? So I think I'll attack it from that kind of point of view. whereby cross-chain is just a consequence of the fragmented customer journey. And if we're able to create platforms to unify that customer journey, I think it would pay dividends not only to the consumers, but all the ecosystem players.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's definitely true. And Ms. Erica, are you taking steps, special steps in terms of data privacy and safeguarding this ecosystem?
Yeah, so before I answer that question, I just want to build on what Wei and Mike previously mentioned, that I agree, right? Aside from content, having friction in terms of being able to participate in that ecosystem is one of the biggest barriers to entry. Except I think what happened in our environment recently is that the gains were too big. And so people push themselves to learn how to get onto that. But I think it still remains, and the problem is still there, that we don't have enough ramp on and ramp off options. And in terms of what we're doing on our end, Union Bank, by way of Union Digital, is also starting a stable coin. We're going to call it PHD, and we're working with coins on that as well. And we're hoping that that particular stable coin could help the community, right? Make it easier for them to transact, do more within the metaverse, do more with their NFTs and such. And so it's the first step for us in terms of reconciling the friction and making it more seamless. Because definitely at the end of the day, if there's so many steps, right, that you need to take, I mean, we see a lot of drop-offs, even just for payments. What more into something that's very complex and complicated, such as doing transactions within the metaverse and then bringing that out of the metaverse into fiat and into the real world. So yeah, that's just our bit on that. Secondly, in terms of cybersecurity, so just a little bit of soundbite. I invested in Bitcoin very, very early, 8 years ago. Or 6 years ago, yeah. And so I should have been a very rich woman now, but actually I got hacked twice. The exchanges that I bought Bitcoin at that time suddenly disappeared, and definitely there was no one to run after. And so cybersecurity definitely is a big thing. But I want to say that even if cybersecurity is a big thing and there is a lack of concrete policies right now within the Philippines, Union Bank still remains open for people who want to engage in cryptocurrencies, right? So on our end, what we do is we have very stringent EDD just to make sure that we comply with the BSP requirements. But at the end of the day, we also have that fiduciary responsibility to our customers, right? And so we also encourage them to do that via licensed exchanges only, such as coins. Because at the end of the day, these are covered institutions by the Philippine Central Bank, and that they're also required to set aside funds, right, just to secure the safety of its users. And so those are the two steps that we've taken to ensure that, sure, cybersecurity or the hacks will still be a concern. It will always be there, but we need to find a middle ground, and that's how Union Bank's doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh well, before we usher in the fun part of this, the metaverse, I think what Kat is doing with YGG is something very, very fun. You're enjoying your time with YGG, Kat? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I want to comment on actually what Erica said. I think you lost your Bitcoins and it got hacked because you're using a centralized exchange, right? But jokes aside, I think education for us is super important because usability isn't great right now, right? It can improve. There's a lot of potential to improve there. But that's why we were focusing on educating our players, the members of our guild, right? How do they do these things safely? How do they protect their wallet? How do they, where can they exchange their assets securely? So I think that's one big focus that we have at YGG. So we're taking it from a different angle, I guess, where we're not the platform. We're really here to guide them through how to do these things, as we're building the metaverse, right?
Yeah, that's true. But until today, one potential downside of using NFT in gaming is that developers are at the risk of losing control over what players do in-game assets once they have left the game. What do you think is the best way to integrate NFT into games in a way that is fair and secure for both? developers and users and gamers?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts to that question, right? This first is the idea of losing control for the developers, and the second is how do you make it like safer and secure, right? So for the first part, I really liked what Wei said earlier about ownership, because this concept of having ownership of assets in the metaverse as a quote unquote user, right, is quite different from in Web 2. So what you would call developers losing control is actually because there's a phenomena in Web3 where we actually, as a user, you have ownership of your assets and you can do what you want with that. You can use it to earn yield, you can play the games, you can trade it, you can stake it, you can sell it, right? You can breed it. And I think that this is something that should be celebrated, because at the end of the day, if your user, your player, is actually an owner of your asset, or even a holder of your governance token, as a creator, as a builder, isn't that like a more customer-centric sort of framework rather than we have now? So I think that that's actually something that is something we should accept and actually should celebrate in Web3 that's different from traditional games. But for the second part of your question was more on like security, right? I think this is where education comes in. This is where decentralization also solves a lot of these issues, where it's not just a particular centralized platform that's, that could get hacked. But if you have ownership of your own assets and they're actually in your own wallet, then you can, you have more security because you own the keys, right? As long as you're educated on how to best use that and protect that, I guess. So I hope that answers your question. It's a little bit different, I guess, how I want to frame the thinking. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, but before we move on, something fun. Can from the earnings of NFT in gaming, can it fund my college education, do you think? From your observation, do you think it could fund a master's degree?
I think what you should think about is that these people who are playing these games, it gives them an additional source of income, right? And some of these kids that I've met, they don't have to get allowance from their parents anymore, right? They just use what they earn from the games, right? So rather than like thinking of it as a full-time job, it's probably best to think about it like as a new source of earning. And what Wei said is true. We're very much in the early days. So we haven't even seen where this can go yet. It's very, very early days, and it's really exciting to have seen what happened with Axie, and to now know there are so many games going to come out. YGG's invested in like 70 plus games, and a lot of those haven't even launched yet. So you have to wait and see, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And Dr. Chego, like, how can we reduce the people's reluctance? I mean, there are like always like questions towards virtual augmented reality or hybrid reality products. I mean, how can we push them or close the gap for adoption and resistance?
Well, well, I have a short answer and a long answer. So the short answer is you build the product 10 times better than the previous product, period. So why Metaverse is so attractive, why this VR AR technology is so attractive, is generally from the movies, like Ready Player One, like The Matrix, like many more sci-fi movie that we have watched, and a lot of novels we have read. So a world described in these movies is fully immersive, that you walk inside of a digital space, but you feel it's real. That's the fun part, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I was in Malaysia in a panel, also a panel discussion, that people asked me a question: how can we build a attractive enough Metaverse game and make it sustainable? My answer was quite short: make a good game. So we know
Best
that
answer.
in the gaming industry, you have to make a good game to be attractive enough, to be fun enough to attract the gamers. There's no difference in Metaverse games. Again, there's no difference when we come to VR and AR technology, right? For a lot of technologies that we use them every day because we need them. Metaverse is the same. VR AR is the same. That's why Step VR has stick to rebuild the 5 senses, much more than a goggle. So we rebuild vision, hearing, balance, haptics. You can touch, you can be touched, and smell. in the metaverse. And when we combine these factors together, we opened more than 200 venues in 8 months worldwide, and we host more than 1 million users, 1 million customers in 8 months, and also each user pay us something like $50-$60 for just for fun, not for earning, just for fun, right? So start from that. We see that 70% of these users actually purchase a loyalty card, which means that at least want to play 15-20 times, and even to 30% of them purchase a second loyalty card. If we bridge this question to metaverse, a lot of NFTs already happen, and a lot of avatars already existing on the market. What we see is that if we build an avatar good enough, and we have a real human to drive the avatar, some of these VTuber, means virtual idols, can earn up to $100K per month. That's quite impressive. They do only 3 hours live broadcasting on Douyin, the Chinese TikTok, and they earn something every day, and they earn something like more than $100,000 per month only by gifting. It's quite impressive. So yeah, the it's very simple, that if we want to bring the gap of a mass adoption of VR AR technology, and if we think goggle is not enough, what is the proper product to give to the customer, to the consumers, that they love it? They're gonna use it every day. Which one is 10 times better than mobile phone? So rebuild 5 senses, make it look like or feel like the Ready Player One portal, and feel like Oasis. That's my answer. That's what I did in the past 9 years. That's how we attract more than 1 million users. And that's my longer answer to the question.
Not that you're only an innovator, you're also a good salesman, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, and for everyone, now that you're gearing towards adoption to the metaverse, how can you possibly help in your own way, whether it's by passion or by what your role is, or how can you help the integration of the metaverse in the Philippine industry? Sectors and industry want to see or tap on just to complete this ecosystem.
Right. So metaverse is the new internet. 2 days ago, in the lunch party of Step VR in Singapore, I gave a speech. One sentence inside is metaverse eats everything. It's the new internet. If we think about internet, it's about everything, about every country, so as metaverse. So in Philippines, a lot of young people, a lot of innovative people. There's a new era, new revolution of rebuilding the current internet, including website, including fintech, including the portal going to the metaverse. So there's from my point of view, there's so many things that we can actually do. No matter if you learn electronics, finance, or you make content, or you just play a game very good, right? Last year, the year before last year, we organized the world largest VR gaming esports competition. We have close to 100 teams participate in. You know, you play Counter-Strike in VR. The winner win $20,000. So there's so many things that we can actually.
Doctor, speaking of that fun, I was gonna ask this way, are you this crazy? Ladies, can you do this together? And of course, Mike, I know, 1 bottle of beer and you can do this. One of the most popular thing that the West did to forward the metaverse industry or concept is having Ariana Grande for the concert. The first artist to have a concert at metaverse. Are we even close to that?
The quick answer is yes. I think the revolutionary concept. I think it's just especially for art. Like, there's 2 things. I think what I've sort of we're checking out some of the machines that Step VR is building, And I think one of the key things that's happening is actually, I think it's actually what I call the democratization of content creation. I think before, you need a Hollywood studio to do a lot of these special effects, to create the animation, to create the characters. But I think with the with sort of the adoption of sort of cheaper equipment and actually more use cases that's being made available by metaverses and NFTs, you can actually sort of creators now can actually make things in their own studio that's actually of Hollywood studio quality. I think that's the future. I think and I think that's sort of where Philippines can actually play a huge part of it. Is because we may look like this, maybe Westerners won't buy our content, but if we look like avatars,
Definitely. Definitely. We can compete. Yeah.
we can compete. Then we're at a level playing field, right? So I think that's actually what's really, really interesting. And I think that's because I think what I tell people is that NFT is just a means. Like it's not the end. NFT is just a means for ownership and for monetization. I think like what crypto people are really good at is monetizing. But what they're really bad at is actually creating things people use and creating real content. And I think that's where actually the Web2 people are actually really good at it. And I think what we hope to do is actually help to build that bridge with basically bring a market, bring the market, bring the content, bring the technology, and then bring that to the Philippines, and then hopefully Coins can help to contribute to that with our partners here.
Yeah. Well, that's true. What can you say, Mike? Do you think we are on this stage of our era where these movable parts can just have that level?
Diego, I'll jump in here. I'm sorry to interrupt there, Mike. I actually don't. So I actually think we're gonna have new stars coming out of the metaverse. Like
That
you're
is
gonna have native,
an equalizer.
Yeah, who is like native from the platform, native to the technology, and actually native to the. It's almost like embedded. Is that instead of transplanting someone who's real, you actually gonna have like native stars like in the meta world. So
we won't need an Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
The metaverse will build its own.
Yeah, my dream is to become a doctor, not anymore. Metaverse superstar.
There you go, Diego.
Yeah. Kat, something very interesting. I mean, games are really popular among young kids, like the formative minds. If you have a chance to send out a message or value or teaching value system through games, how would you do it?
Yeah, so I guess for us, our age bracket is quite different. It's usually 18 to like 35 is our median age. So these people are playing also because of the earning opportunities that the metaverse provides, right? So it's not really the young kids that are playing the games or those that are in our community. It's actually like young professionals even to like mid-30s. So I guess what we're doing is we're using the game as kind of like a way to educate about Web3. So if you look at like just the profile of who earns in the metaverse, it's gamers, but it's also like Discord moderators. It's also like developers, right? Content creators for a lot of these videos and KOLs that educate, right? So if you look at the profile of who earns through these Web3 opportunities, I think what we're trying to do is educate people on how they can do this safely, how they can participate, and also like looking at ways that we can support them, right? So how do you give healthcare in the metaverse? What kind of like learning opportunities do you need to like make sure that we supply the Discord moderators of the world, right? So yeah, these are the kind of the things that we're looking at in terms of education.
Yeah, that's true. So wait, may I ask you, doctor, what was the age of the guy that paid $60,000 for this one? Is it somewhere 18 to 35? The age demographic of that, let's say, gamer that you mentioned, that can pay 60,000 instantly. 18 to 35 possible? No. Dr. Cheng?
Well, what the reason that I think a metaverse portal gonna enter every home, because I grew up with the personal computer. So at my college life, on the second grade, I bought my first personal computer. And back then, the personal computer occupied some space like one square meter at the price of $2,000.
Yeah.
That's when the equipment can enter into every college. Why I bought that personal computer? Because everybody is playing StarCraft. Everybody is playing Counter-Strike at that moment. Otherwise, if I don't have one, I have to share the Counter-Strike. Just get a little bit time slot from my neighbor, from the classmates. So everybody at that time bought their first personal computer at the price of $2,000. I mean, China back then was not that rich yet.
But doctor, hear me out.
But
do you think hear me out. Do you think our society, everyone here, especially the Philippines, do you think our society is ready to take on an inspiring story coming from a rags to riches story, touching, moving story from metaverse? Do you think our society is ready to embrace that? Are we on that stage?
Well, back to we want to sell something to consumers, right? So back to the origin of this question, what we can do with the product to the consumers. That's the most important question. If we can do a lot, right? They can create, they can even make money from the portal, from the content, and most probably they're gonna pay the cost. So
doctor, that's a given. But my question is, can, let's say, an Asian society be ready to embrace a story like a rags to riches story, a metaverse, like, let's say, inspiring story that I become a great inspiring entrepreneur, thought leader in the metaverse? Do you think, are we ready to take that and suck it in? Are we on the stage?
To repeat your question, are we ready for a entrepreneurship in metaverse?
Yeah,
Philippines.
I'll jump in. I absolutely think so, and it comes back to sort of what I said earlier about sort of what does it mean to be the ownership economy, right? I joke around with people, sort of like the world creates wealth in sort of two ways, right? One is you have to sell things to America. That's how you create wealth, right? If you look at in the 70s and the 80s, like the Japanese sold cars to America, right? The last, in the 80s and the 90s, China sold like t-shirts, sneakers, and upgraded to electronics, right? You sold it to Americans. So I think the next phase, we actually have to sell digital content to Americans. That's where we are. That's where we're at, right? Like if it's NFTs, it's NFTs. And I think that's what's really interesting. And I think that's sort of like the first half of the equation. I think the second half of the equation, I think it goes back to sort of the ownership. Like I don't think like I think coming out of China, you don't really see the ownership. I think Dr. Guo is actually going to see the ownership aspects of you actually own a piece of the internet. I think that's what's really going to change things, because I think the other part of how you create wealth is actually land reform, right? We're actually seeing land reform happening in front of our eyes. All right. We're going after Facebook and Google to take back, what we create. Right. I mean, that's what's happening. And what happens when you have land, when you actually own something, you can build on it. Right. Like China had land reform in the late 70s, early 80s. Right. And then now you have factories, apartments, and super highways and airports, right, because of land reform. Like, and I think we're seeing, and then it turned into like sort of the world factory. I think Philippines here is like, hey, we don't own anything, we use everything, right? We're actually quite good at using it. Philippines is actually one of the leading countries in Asia in terms of using technology. Facebook, early days of MySpace, like 25% of users from the Philippines. Right. So it's just sort of like the adoption level is there. It's just a matter of sort of like, how do we create and how do we learn from it? Right. So
that's true. But here as well, is this something, do you think this is something that, not just metaverse, do you think this goes hand in hand in terms of like information campaign or education as we integrate values around them? Do you think Web3 and metaverse can go hand in hand in terms of the level of like spinning it off to a positive adoption, making society better, Is it something it's something hand in hand to going together, or there's something lag behind before one gets forward?
Totally. Well,
Totally.
if we think metaverse itself is a 3D space, right? Because in the 3D space that we can walk in, we generally need our look. We're not going to the 3D space. I own my own face, right? So in metaverse, in nature, everybody should have their first NFT, which is yourself.
That's true.
Not neither Facebook or Alibaba on my face, but myself on my face. So as in metaverse, that's so nature in metaverse. So in my one view, metaverse and Web3 gotta go hand in hand with each other, and with development of metaverse, Web3 will be more popular and vice versa. So
That's true.
what
Yeah. But Mike, Kat and Wei, question: how can we possibly like help Erica, like in her role as like with this one, to make her role exciting in forwarding, like say, entrepreneur community, using these principles in a fun way, in a hyper growth stage? Is there something you could possibly advise Erica? I know she knows that. And we can do together as a like collective ecosystem.
Well, let me do a quick comment on that. I don't think it's more of advice, right? I think Erica has her stuff
Know that, right?
really to a queue. But perhaps what I could comment on is that right now we're moving from speculation to utility in terms of these digital assets, right? And towards that end, we see a very big imbalance in that, sure, there are early adopters among our citizens, but at the extreme end of the spectrum, there are guys who don't even have internet access, right? So I think let me zero in on what Kat mentioned earlier. She really focused on education, which is, I think, really the greatest equalizer. And what better way to educate than to let them experience a platform that is secure, that will provide you a gateway towards these technologies, and that is unified. So yeah, I think those are just principles there. It's really hard to pin down what future applications there are. And there are many. Gaming is the biggest use case right now. There is for sure real estate, right? You're able to see a property even before and buy it, even before physically going to it. Education and a whole lot more. So this is the thing that gets us the thing eventually. Right now, it's really hard to speak about specifics, but I think okay, let me frame it this way. The author William Gibson said, the cyberpunk genre pioneer, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So I think the battle cry is that we as ecosystem players should focus on distributing that.
Right. Just like this webinar, didn't you notice that we were just talking about Kat, as a head of YGG, and suddenly she became now a moral defender suddenly from these conversations, isn't it? You have a bigger obligation suddenly that like a heavier like weight on your shoulder. Are we correct?
No, I don't think it's a heavier weight. I think we
Okay.
know our role. Yeah, as
Awesome.
YGG. So we're here to take care of the community. Yeah.
That's true. Well, wait, as a co-convener of Digital Pilipinas and the Philippine FinTech Festival happening on October 18 and 21, do you have like something to share with us? What are we going to look forward about? What coins will do? Or important notes that we should be there catching that, let's say, surprise for you.
Yeah, I'll wait until the conference to actually drop some of the alpha, but one of the things that I've been talking about is we actually want to bring a game center inside coins, such that we want to make it easier for people to play to basically access decentralized applications directly, and with games being sort of the biggest one. We want you to be able to play your Web3 games directly from the Coins wallet. And I think that's something that our team has been building. And I think, and we want to be able to showcase some of that. And then we're actually working with Gabby at YGG to sort of like, maybe to get some of their portfolio games to be profiled in the game center as well.
Got it. Well, before I ask you to invite everyone to the Philippine FinTech Festival, and just get back to one of the wonderful like takeaways from this webinar, also from what Mike has shared. Not evenly distributed yet. Question: how can you possibly do an even distribution, or at least close to that, together as a ecosystem driver. And please invite them to the PFF
For sure.
and SFF, Dr. Cheng.
Well,
Mike, you wanna start it?
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, inviting everyone to the PFF, it's gonna be super fun, right? We're gonna have drinks for sure, right? Which is a social lubricant for very nice conversations, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, lots of ideas floating around, right? So you'll have very willing and able partners there to be able to execute those ideas and get it out there for a more even distribution. Not even, I don't want to call it even. Let's call it equitable distribution. We're
Very
capitalists here.
diplomatic. Very diplomatic, Mike. Yeah. I was about to like say heterogeneous distribution, but you have a diplomatic term. Good. Very good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Kat, invite them.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I guess just come
Are
to
we gonna have games too there at the PFF?
Oh, I don't know. I actually am not really that aware of the program of the PFF, but I'm sure it'll be great having, been with Amor through other events as well. So it's always been an exciting and fun thing to experience. So yeah.
Just a side comment. It was refreshing to see you on a different color hair. I was asking her earlier, did Kat change her hair color? Anyway, Erica, how can you like manage the distribution and invite them?
Okay, so just to clarify a few things, so while Web 2 changed how we did interactions, Web 3 is poised to change interaction itself, right?
Right. Right.
And the idea behind that really is that in Web 3, because it's open and decentralized, we're ushering a different and entirely new digital economy that changes how business models are, in the sense that ownership goes back to the individual rather than an intermediary in the middle. So when you say putting back or giving equal distribution, Web3 is actually well poised to do that, because it brings that ownership to the individual, right? And so I think to your question earlier, it's here to stay. I definitely agree. It is in the early stages. A few examples of that coming from Union Bank is, for example, we have a taxi driver who is now a multimillionaire. Can you imagine, just by creating his own content, just by trading NFTs? We also have a flight stewardess who is also another prime example of that. So if you want to talk about equally distributing, I think this is a good platform for it, and it's already beginning.
Equalizer.
Yeah, the problem is, I think it's not just as widespread, right? As Kat mentioned, it's only, the demographic is up to 35. And so the older generation will probably have a harder time understanding what it's for. But luckily, the Philippines has a pretty young generation. So because of that demographic of the country, then definitely maybe somewhere down the road, the distribution of wealth would be more equitable. And so that's just what we wanted to say. And so we're glad that the metaverse is here. Web3 is actually a big change for all of us, right? And we just have to start thinking about how we should also change the way we do business with our own customers in our own different aspects, coming from Mike, from Kat, and from Wei and myself. And so if you want to learn more about what we're doing in the metaverse in Web3, then I invite you to join PFF, because then we're dropping multiple bombs. And we'll be talking a lot about our executions in the space. And if you guys are interested, right, in getting to know more about how to get into that space, because wealth is supposed to be for everyone. Finance is supposed to be for everyone, right? And so if you do join PFF, you'll probably have a better understanding of how to better do that for your life. And so we look forward to that. And thanks for having us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for saying a nice word for PFF. Thank you. I'm sure the team around this who listening to you are proud now of what you're doing. Dr. Cheng, your country is ready on Web 3 when we're still dragging our feet in Web 2.0, maybe 2.4 or something. How can you possibly help us? Or let's say, in a fun way.
Oh, wow. I think every technology disruption it's a new chance to distribute wealth. If it is equally distributed or not, I'm not sure. but at least we have a chance to redistribute that. And the thing that I think step we are can have is that we enter Philippines earlier than the other countries. At least we have a new portal, like Wei mentioned before, that for the authors, for the content makers, I mean the normal people. I think every technology disruption, every technology involvement actually lower the barrier of create something.
All right.
So
we usually go to Singapore also, Dr. Chen. We usually go to Singapore to SFF. Can you invite Singaporeans to attend PFF?
Yeah, well, of course. I personally, I'm gonna be there, I think, and I'm gonna invite a pair of friends also come with me.
All right, thank you, and that's it.
For you,
yeah, it's a wrap. We had a fun conversation. We have so much to share more at the BFF, and what a great event to cap off this week. What are beyond grateful to everyone who participated in this event. To our panelists, to our keynote Weizu, pleasure to meet you. It's my honor. Our panelists, who insights of our audience for active participation. Hope we learned a lot from today and we enjoyed it. Again, we are inviting you all to the inaugural of the Philippine FinTech Festival happening this October 18 to 21 at the Green Sun, the new home of Digital Pilipinas in Pasong Tamo Extension, Makati City. Well, don't forget our if you want to attend the PSF and you have a limited budget, enter this promo code points PHXPFF. Please read the fine print. It's very, very important. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. We enjoyed it. Erica, thank you. We took you off from being a mother. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you.